Welcome to Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 1037. For the next 60 minutes, join Jeff Brown and Kryder, the ultimate sports fan, as they break down all things Steelers related, along with discussing anything and everything happening in the world of sports. They will take your calls at 814-867-9287. Now, here's Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 1037.
Turn off your television. They're selling superstition. Criminals and victims, slaves to the system, prisoners to the pain. The whole world's addicted, tangled up and twisted, panic pumping through our veins. Well, baby, they say I'm a low life, 'cause I sold life.
Oh, yeah, if you're looking for low lives, you come to the right place. It's Black and Gold Breakdown with Brown and Kryder on ESPN Radio 1037 and 1450. It's all brought to you by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, celebrating 40 years of service to the community, home of the $1,000 lowest price guarantee. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has a vehicle to fit your budget and transportation needs with 19 locations throughout PA. And today, Blaze Alexander sold the 9th consecutive car to the Brown family. How about that? 9 straight vehicle purchases, all from Blaze Alexander. That's how much we love them.
You are the perfect ambassador of Quan for Blaze Alexander.
So there you go. All right, let's talk low lives.
Yeah, wasn't it Hank Williams Jr. that coined that phrase in that song, Friends in Low Places? Like, that used to be one of my favorite songs.
That's Garth Brooks.
Oh, you're right. It was Garth Brooks. Pardon my French. Sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, so I thought that dovetailed nicely into the fact that the judge who was sitting in on the case for Deshaun Watson was supposed to have her ruling down today. And now even more rumors are circulating that they feel, I heard some people saying up to 90% certainty now that he will not be suspended past 8 games.
Yeah, well, they've got the players' union stepped in, and Deshaun Watson stepped in, and now they're going to countersue the NFL if they think that the suspension is too long. So the NFL, being so worried about their faces and stuff like that, now are starting to say, wait a minute, do we want to get into a lawsuit? Do we want to string this thing out? So, yeah, maybe, just maybe, it won't be a full season.
I think a fair punishment would have been for him to sit out this first year with the right to appeal after this year was over, and that would have appeased everybody, I think, from the standpoint of a true punishment, and left the NFL in good graces with the public. But I feel like now it's all become a big negotiation where they're going to start with a number that they feel will be just palatable enough for the public, but yet then give Watson's side the chance to appeal it, and then they're going to fall somewhere between 0 and there.
Yeah, and it makes the NFL look weak. It's like you and I had talked about earlier on another situation, but the NFL has steadfastly said they want it a year. Everybody said the NFL wants a year. If the NFL backs out now and says, 8 games, that makes them look weak. That makes them look like they can't hold up their end of things, and it opens the door for a lot of other stuff. Players deciding they want to do this or they want to do that. And, what's the worst that's going to happen to me? The NFL is going to back down as soon as I threaten a lawsuit, as soon as this happens, as soon as that happens. There's got to be a line in the sand here sooner or later, and I don't think anybody has the cojones to draw it.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of factors that play into this, and one of them is wealth and influence and our infatuation with professional sports. But it seems to be harder and harder for people to do the right thing, no matter what the consequences are. But you will love this stat. Both of you will love this stat, because this is the true epitome of a derivative of what's happening there, and dovetails back to the Browns being the Browns. So the Browns are going to pay Baker Mayfield $588,235 in week 1 of the season to beat the Browns. How awesome is that? That they had to pay that, so they're going to pay the Browns are going to pay Baker Mayfield to beat them.
That is the game. I'm really,
now that's assuming he wins the starting job there, but I feel like he has a good shot.
I'm really hoping that game is not scheduled against the Steelers game, because I want to see that game. Obviously,
it'll probably be a 1 o'clock start no matter what, with both teams being in
but I
East Coast teams.
Watch that game. I think that would be a good game. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have a little chip on his shoulder.
Ooh, you think so?
But anyways, on to Latrobe. We're a week away from training camp.
I want to know what you think. What do you think of them? How long is it going to get?
I think they'll come out with 8, and it'll get whittled down to 4.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to be.
Wow. I was going to say 12 down to 8. Zach, man?
I was in the boat of full game, full season suspension, and then they reduced it to 8. So if the starting point's 8, yeah, it's going to be cut in half. Whatever it is, 12 to 6, 9 to 4, and the first half of a game.
Do you think they're in agreement for the posturing, though, so that both sides can come out in the public then and feel like they won? So the NFL, they already know that they'll set a number of games, and then the other side will appeal and will get granted and fall somewhere in the middle. So both sides will, in effect, save face because Watson's team will say, we didn't admit any guilt, and we got it reduced, and the NFL will still be able to say, well, we still punished you for these actions.
Well, certainly. And, I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and I hate to admit that they made sense with this. And this person is an anti-Watson guy. But he said when you look at it, it's been proven he didn't do anything illegal. I mean, what did he do? Yeah,
but neither did Ben Roethlisberger.
He's a jerk, and he's sexist, and he's this, and he's that. There's all kinds of things you can say about Deshaun Watson, but he's not a criminal.
Sure, but if there was two allegations against Ben that he had to settle, and now there's 20 plus, shouldn't the exponential math fall into place that he should get 20 times what Ben got?
Oh, I agree. I would like to see him out for the season.
Now, the difference people say is that the Rooneys really wanted the NFL to punish Ben hard because they thought he was out of control. So instead of supporting their player, they were lending their credence to the NFL to do what you got to do. So if that's true, then that's a total paradigm shift to what's happening now because obviously the Browns are begging for the sentence to be as minimal as possible.
It's just a ridiculous thing. But, I mean, you got to kind of look at it. As much as I'd like to see him punished big time, like a year, what technically did he do wrong other than be boorish and stupid and a jackass and all that stuff? And
well, we don't know that. Just the fact that there wasn't a criminal complaint doesn't mean that there wasn't. Some of those lawsuits allege coercion in the sexual contact. Just not enough evidence to prove it outright, so that someone was going to bring an indictment.
And that's just it.
Yeah.
That's where that line's drawn. So
they need to ring him up, but they're not going to ring him up. So, all right.
Let's talk about our boys.
Yes.
Next Tuesday, training camp.
Isn't that going to be fun?
I didn't tell you, but I have 6 tickets to media day for us to go out and get autographs and be on the field for Thursday's training camp in Latrobe.
Baby, sign me up.
You want to go?
Absolutely.
All righty.
You kidding me? That'll be a lot of fun. But it's the first time. I didn't stop to think about it. It's the first time since 2019.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time. I mean, I went last year to the stadium, to the Acrisure Stadium.
A. Kryder Stadium,
and it was just so
it's sterile.
Yeah, sterile, antiseptic. Yeah, it was just you're too far away and all that. I'm looking forward to getting back to Latrobe, getting a bad sunburn, but having a great time.
There you go. Ryan Switzer retired.
Yeah.
Ooh. Man, that was another force-fed, was it a Ben Roethlisberger favorite toy, security blanket, or what? But, man, I was not unhappy when he did not come back to the Steelers.
Oh, no, none of it. So, yeah, but, the other thing, going back to training camp, I was reading an article today. Most of the Steelers don't know about Latrobe. And I didn't realize that they are so young that there's only a handful of players who were at Latrobe in 2019.
Yeah.
So they don't know about the little dorm rooms. They don't know about anything.
The Steelers are down to like one of 8 teams left that actually is going away for camp.
Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
You always heard the stories of, you're going to be in these little tiny dorm rooms and you're sleeping in bunk beds.
There's a difference when the Steelers were winning Super Bowls back in the 70s and the players still had off-season jobs.
Right.
Now football is the gravy money, and all the endorsement money and everything else, and TV contract money and all that stuff is the main breadwinner. So those players ain't having it anymore.
No, but they even said there's no Wi-Fi there. There's no this. There's no that. At St. Vincent's, it's that's unheard of these days, and I'm sure there are ways around the no Wi-Fi and stuff, but these guys are actually going to a camp for a little bit, and they said it really helps the camaraderie, and all of the players are looking forward to it. Nobody's bitching about it.
We'll see.
Yeah, let's hope.
And also, let's be real, training camp isn't really training camp anymore.
No.
There's so many rules that were built into the collective bargaining agreement. If it's above, 80 degrees, you have to take all your clothes off. You can't wear a helmet twice a day. You have to feed, them steak, and so it's nonsense. Anyways, really, what they're doing there is not like back in the day where training camp was a bear, and it was meant to be a bear, and you knocked each other out to win the position, and then you hopefully were healthy enough to get into the regular season. Now everything is mitigated and choreographed to appease the collective bargaining agreement.
It's not like the old days, that's for sure.
Hey, but stop the press as the Steelers signed another stud today, okay? Some dude named Doug Constant, never heard of him. Apparently he had 33 tackles in 13 games for the Bengals and the Jaguars as a D lineman. Steelers signed him to a 1-year deal.
Woohoo!
Quantity over quality. That's the Steelers' way.
Now they're going into, and as of earlier today, I read where they had $14 million going into camp, $14 million cap space. I don't know. You figure Boswell's going to get his money, and maybe Deontay's going to get his money, and they have room for like one or two, possibly one or two free agents. I didn't think that it would be him. I was hoping maybe it would be somebody else, maybe I don't know, like a running back, like a position of real need. They've got a lot of defensive
come on.
tackles.
McFarland's going to snap back in year 3 and just be wowing you under Canada's new offense.
I mean, who do they think they are, the Penguins? I mean, the Penguins are getting all these defensemen, and the Pirates get all these middle infielders, and now it seems like the Steelers are collecting D linemen when they've got lots of other places that they could use some help. Now, if you had $14 million, if you be Omar Khan for a second, you got room for, and I'm only going to give you one, room for one signing to shore up the team. Don't give me, it doesn't have to be a name. Give me a position. Where would you look?
I don't know. I'd love a thumper inside linebacker because I don't think Myles Garrett or Bush fills that role. But the other place I would go would be a quality, little bit slightly worn NFL caliber running back to spell Najee Harris.
Zach, man, what do you think? He's thinking. Okay. I'm going to answer for him. I'd like a running back, Jeff. Okay. I agree. I'd like a running back.
Yeah. And that could very well happen. I don't know. I think, again, they just keep waiting and hoping that Benny Snell turns the corner or that McFarland's MCL injury is all behind him now. And the excuse was you couldn't do much with Canada's offense with an immobile Ben Roethlisberger, so that's now going to go away. So it's going to open up all kinds of gadgets and, different kinds of elements of the offense. So that remains to be seen.
Yeah, and Benny supposedly has reshaped himself.
Great.
So we'll see what happens, see if it helps him out or not. All right, another question for you. Which Steeler defensive player needs to have a breakout season?
Zach said he wants to go to a break. I saw the old hand signals over there. So we're going to go to a break, and we will flush that out on the flip side.
Yes, ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
Here's Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7. Want to get in on the action? Call the show at 814-867-9287.
Okay, here it is. And yes, we want you to call 814-272-9625. Chuck, we're looking for you, buddy, and all the other folks to call in and talk Steeler football. It's brought to you by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, the home of lots of trucks and trucks and trucks. Reserve your truck today with possible 0% financing, the highest trade values, and large selection of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram trucks. Don't miss it. While everybody else is on low on inventory, they've got it coming, and they'll put your name on it. At Blaze Alexander, they're taking the deals. The other guys won't. When we last left our program, I issued the question, which Steeler defensive player needs to have a breakout season in 2022? Your thoughts, sir?
Well, for me to say which Steeler has to have a breakout season, to me it would have to be a Steeler that was on the roster with him last year. So Myles Garrett would be out in some of the other signings. You know, Obi-Wan Kenobi, he can't be considered either. Which I'm still pissed at that signing because I watched that video again a couple times last week, and he just took the total sissy route and decked Mason Rudolph from behind. Like, I have no tolerance for that kind of cowardice.
But Mason Rudolph was one of the first people to reach out to him.
I understand all that, but watching it made me angry again the other day.
I understand that, but I kind of, I'll bring me in somebody with fire like that. I'll take that.
It's not fire to push somebody in the back.
It's like Pete Rose. I hated Pete Rose when he was on everybody else's team. If the Pirates had ever signed him,
but he
would have been my favorite player.
He didn't push anybody from behind when he wrecked Ray Fosse at home plate in the All-Star game. He ran him over, looking him in the eye.
He was a jackass pain in the ass.
Sure,
though.
But he was a hustler and whatever.
Yeah,
but that was a cheap move. No one ever called Pete Rose cheap or dirty. They just
no. Well, I call him a lot of things cheap and dirty.
But anyways, so I say there has to be two players you're picking from. You're either picking from the Bush camp or the Highsmith camp. So which one would be better for the Steelers to have a breakout season?
I say Bush, because he was so bad last year. So he needs to have a breakout season. Highsmith is going to be Highsmith. They say that, hey, he's coming on, but then again, he may not.
I'll go the other way. I say it would be more beneficial for the Steelers if Highsmith took the next step and was an elite bookend to T.J. Watt. I think it opens up so much more, takes a lot of pressure off T.J. Watt where you can't double him the way they have, and I can live with whatever I got in the middle.
They got to stop the run, though. They just got to stop the run.
Right. Well, hopefully that doesn't all
Obi-Wan
fall
Kenobi may do that.
into the inside linebackers.
Yeah, and maybe that'll help, and getting Alu back it will help. But
so which one do you think is more likely, though? Then, if it, not on the wish list or more beneficial, don't you feel like it? To me, it would be more. I don't know, because I haven't really loved what I saw from Highsmith, so I can't say it would be more likely that he would have the breakout season. But I would only say that based off of I have a small amount of confidence that Bush will bounce back.
I think Bush will bounce back because, in no particular order, Brian Flores is going to work with him, and his knee was healthy last year, but he didn't believe.
But he still can't help that he's diminutive and can't shed blockers, even if he's healthy. That's the other thing is he can't. Once someone latches their big non-Kenny Pickett doll hands on him, he's toast.
No, but his rookie season, he was good. He was really good, and he had people excited, and then he tore up his knee, and he lost his confidence, and I'm hoping Flores gets that back because, according to all reports, the knee is perfectly fine. So if he would get back to his rookie year, the way he was playing his rookie season, he is good. Plus, this is contract year. He needs to be good.
True.
So I think we're going to see the biggest turnaround.
All right, so then let's take one last step. Do you think either is likely that one of them will have a breakout season? Because I would have to answer that no as well.
Wow, you're really negative.
Well, breakout means superstar level, or don't have to be all world like,
So you're not
TJ.
just talking improvement. You're talking
like a breakout where all of a
superstar.
sudden bona fide star. Maybe not a superstar, but a star.
I don't think either one will be a star, but I think both of them will be improved. But
I mean, Highsmith wasn't awful. He was just marginal to me.
Yeah.
6 sacks. I had hoped for more. They had talked a huge game, but I watched a lot of tape on him again this week, and he has the Bud Dupree syndrome, where he does that dip move, but he can't get into it quick enough. So the blockers are riding him around the Horn of Africa behind the quarterback. I saw when they played Mahomes, in the playoff game, a couple times he tried that move, but he just got ridden so far wide that the quarterback just took a couple steps up and had time to complete the pass.
But when did Bud Dupree come into his own? Third season with Highsmith.
All right, well.
So let's keep our fingers
Let's wish it into fruition. How do you like that? That's my new T-shirt.
Did you notice how they didn't bring in any free agent help? I mean, they brought in the one guy,
Right.
Avery Gennard, or Gennard Avery, but they brought in Miles Jack to be that head linebacker, so they trust Alex Highsmith more than they do Devin Bush.
Remember, but what compounds that problem is if either one of those two yahoos get hurt, man, we have no
it's
depth.
bad. Oh, exactly. No, it's
You
bad.
got Tupac Skipper or whatever his name is.
Buddy Johnson.
No, we're talking outside linebackers. Outside. He's an inside linebacker.
Well, you're talking Jack and Bush and all that stuff. So
No, wait a minute. What are you doing?
They're talking Jack and Bush.
You're Jack and Bush.
No, it's Jack
Jesus.
and Bush.
Is that like shoplifting the pootie? I don't know what you're talking about here.
You're going to get another call from your wife.
She's at the pool. She ain't listening.
Okay, all right.
Next man in line's Derek Teska, and then Tazar Skipper.
Yeah, back again. Like a long
All right, let's move on to Thurston Howell III, Pressley Harvin. Big deal, little deal, or no deal that they have absolutely no one competing with him in training camp right now. They had some jabroni who didn't even get drafted out of college in 2018, played for some team in the USFL, Chinese Football League. I don't know. And no one else. So I think that's a big deal that a guy who underperformed last year has no one pushing him in training camp.
Zach, I'm going to let you go first on this.
Ooh, the expert in punting and why the Steelers aren't pushing Pressley
Rachel
Harvin.
just texted me she's listening.
There you go.
Cold meatloaf for dinner tonight for Kryder.
I think the Steelers are giving him the benefit of the doubt that the health issues with his father, his head wasn't totally on the field.
And didn't he lose his aunt as well? Or something like that. There's
may
a second
have.
family member.
I just know that
who
his
died.
father was kind of the I don't want to call it the distraction because rightfully so, his mind was in other places.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what Pittsburgh is doing here. They believe that he's the guy. They drafted him. He's not taking up that much cap space.
Do you think they're hoping that Corliss Waitman gets an opportunity to come back if he doesn't stick with wherever he is? Because Jordan Berry had a great year last year, so I mean that was makes the decision in the short term look like the wrong one. Like we're keeping somebody because we drafted him, as opposed to this person was the best player who performed this way in the preseason.
I mean, they let go of Quincy Roche, remember, the 6th-round pick, and he got picked up by the Giants immediately. So in that case, I think there is this. It's just kind of the sentimental thing. They look at Pressley Harvin and they say, "Hey, look, we know that you had family issues, big deal, especially with the pandemic going on, and we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt." And this is really the telltale season if it's going to be make or break for Pressley Harvin. But
the whole hindsight thing drives me crazy in sports in general. You know, the Pirates, when they made the trade for Chris Archer, everybody went, yes, finally they went out and got a stud in the playoffs, to get ready for the playoffs. This is great.
Yeah, but sometimes people are who you saw they are, and you need to believe them. And the Steelers have a very bad habit of seeing something that no one else sees and going, oh, he was an inconsistent punter in college, but he did have some boomers. We're going to change him to be consistent. Oh, this person has the rawest skills as a cornerback. We're going to take him in the first round. You know, they see things. They see the deficiencies and think that they're going to be the person to change them.
But I'm talking the opposite, like with Jordan Berry. Jordan Berry was an average punter who drove us all crazy, and they let him go. And now he has a great season with Minnesota, and now everybody's going, oh, my God, why would they ever let him go?
No, I'm more concerned that they didn't keep Corliss Waitman because, I mean, he was doing lights out for the Steelers.
He was. But I'm going to side with Zach on this. I think he had problems, 2 deaths in the family. I think they want to just give him the benefit of the doubt, and they want to say, look, we have so much faith in you. We're not bringing any competition. It's all yours, Bubba. Just punt.
I still just say that guy's dropped that football out of his hand a bazillion times in his lifetime. The fact that he was inconsistent in college, he was probably inconsistent in high school. I don't know what anybody can teach you or show you how to not become inconsistent. It's all about, you know what I mean? That is a repetitive act, you know. It isn't like he has a weak leg, you know. It's all about him, you know, that ball placement off of the foot, which he shanks one or booms one. So that's where I worry, is that if he was a great punter all through college and you said, oh, he had some personal challenges in his life and underperformed, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he underperformed in the very same manner with the inconsistency they did in college, that's what concerns me.
But look at I'm going to give you another thing to think about here. With a punter, it's not like you got to learn the playbook or anything else.
Oh, he's a big passer, remember?
If he doesn't get the job done, there are Corliss Wakeman's and other people waiting in the wings to step in, get signed on Monday, and be punting the following Sunday. And so I really think this is more of a psychological thing for him than anything. They know they can replace
So are you
him
saying
whenever.
you wouldn't have brought in any more of a stiff competition in training camp?
No.
Really?
I would let the job be his to get his head straight. And then if he's still inconsistent, if he's still not doing the job, I bring in somebody else. We didn't know who the heck Corliss Wakeman was until the Steelers signed him. And then he started, and you're right, he was punting lights out. He was doing great. But we didn't know who he was before that. So if Pressley Harvin III decides that he's going to still be inconsistent, you go find somebody else. We're going to take a break. Love to hear from you at 814-272-9625 as Black and Gold Breakdown with Brown and Kryder continues on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
Now, back to Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7.
We are back. It's Black and Gold Breakdown brought to you by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. Make this the summer you get that new vehicle. At Blaze Alexander Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram Truck, make it possible on everything because they have truckloads and truckloads of new cars arriving daily. Reserve it today with possible 0% financing, the highest trade values, and a large selection of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram trucks. You don't want to miss it. So while everyone else is low on inventory, they've got it. They've got it coming, and they'll put your name on it because at Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, they're taking the deals. The other guys won't. We had one question answered. Let's get to another question answered. It's a good question, by the way, Kryder. Well done. The Steelers are a model of consistency or mediocrity. Which one?
Well, if you're talking recently to me, they're one of only 11 teams who haven't won a playoff game in the last 5 years. So let's list the duds that the Steelers are now associated with at the family reunion. You have the Cardinals, the Lions, the Broncos, Jets, Panthers, Bears, Raiders, Giants, Dolphins, Commanders, and the Steelers. That's some homely company when it comes to football, and for a glorious franchise that coined the moniker, the standard is the standard. Well, that standard she be a slipping.
Yeah. So are they mediocre, or what do you think?
You know
They're
me.
Consistent or mediocre?
I hate lukewarm anything. I want piping hot or ice cold. I hate lukewarm, so I say they are a mediocre franchise right now, not a model of consistency.
Zach?
I mean, they were 8-1, 8-1 last year.
Right.
They literally could not go. They were, no matter what, 500. That's just it. And we looked at the schedule that's coming up.
No, they were 9-7-1 last year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They went past the mark.
They did. Got to give them credit.
Give them credit.
They made the playoffs, but they got thumped by the Chiefs, so they are in that conversation right now. They're not in Super Bowl talks.
Oh no!
But if we go back a decade, or since the Packers Super Bowl game, that's where if you look at it in a league of what have you done for me lately, and even beyond 5 years, take it to 10. I still say we would have to say the same thing.
I'd have to agree with you. I mean, they've done virtually nothing.
I mean, if your goal is to just be competitive and maybe squeak into the playoffs like some other franchises, then hooray for you. But that's never been the goal for the Steelers. So that if you're looking at it from that lens, how can you not say they've become a model of mediocrity?
Then you've got to look back and say, all right, Kevin Colbert, maybe you weren't the GM that everybody was talking about.
Sure. I mean, people fawn over the good things and, gloss over, some of the poor choices. But him and Tomlin and everybody have to bear a lot of responsibility for the lack of playoff production.
But they don't. And why is that, since we're asking questions?
Because they want to say that they are a model of consistency, and the Steelers do things in the Steelers way, and that's why they haven't had a losing season and blah, 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 and then you vomit up all that nonsense.
But it does. I mean, you get down to it, that's not the Steeler way. The Steeler way was always to win.
Right.
And every year, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Maybe fall short some years, but every year, we're going to win the Super Bowl or have the chance to win the Super Bowl. And it's like Zach said, they do not have a chance unless lots of things fall apart in the NFL. They don't have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year.
All right. Well, so this dovetails kind of into the next point, which was, will the Steelers play a meaningful game 18 this year? That's the last game of the year. So this stat I found very interesting. Ben Roethlisberger only played in 2 last week games where the Steelers were not in playoff contention in his whole career. So now this year, do you think it's more likely or less likely that the Steelers will play a meaningful football game in Week 18? And I'm discounting the fact where they clinched a playoff berth and they rested their own players, so they need to win because they're in contention or they're still in contention.
I think the way the team's built, and we've been talking about it, they're going to need all of those games to get in. So if they're getting into the playoffs, chances are they're playing for
so
their
you would
lives
say
at the
you
end
think
of the
that
season.
this year there's a higher likelihood than not that the Steelers will be playing a meaningful football game that first week in January.
I'm telling you, they are not cruising into the playoffs.
Right, but will they be? Or you're saying they're not going to be sunk before that?
That's what I'm saying. Or they're not going to cruise in, and I don't think they're going to be sunk. I think it's going to come down to the last game or two, maybe.
Well, I mean,
they're going to be in contention.
If I'm not wrong, I think the Ravens and the Bengals play also in Week 18, so maybe there'll be some cannibalization inside the AFC North that will make the records not as grandiose as some of the other divisions. But Zach, more likely or less likely that that'll be a meaningful game?
I'm gonna go with less likely because I just don't think the Steelers are going to be near the playoffs. It's going to be that awkward conversation when they're whatever, 6 and 8 or 7 and 8, and it's like they're teetering and they need this team to lose and these two teams not to tie. And that's what it came down to. The fact that the Raiders and the Chargers almost tied for the Steelers to miss the playoffs was really something.
I was in bed and got woken up by a text from my mortified friend, and all it said was, "Can you believe this effing crap?" And I was like, oh my Lord, there's no way that this could have ended in a tie. And I had to jump out and put my contact lenses back in and go out there and watch that. But, I mean, this dovetails to the other point I had written down here, which was, when's the last time we said, oh my goodness, this defense plays lights out football? Or when did we say, man, the way the offense is playing, they could beat anybody right now? I haven't felt that way in years about either side of the ball, it seems.
Well, was it 1918, something like that?
1918?
No. I mean,
they weren't even a franchise until 1933.
Was it 2019, 2018, something like that, that the defense carried them? I mean, they absolutely carried them. So I think it was only a few years ago that the defense was really good, and I want to say it was 2019.
Even when they were really good recently, it's still in my mind that they gave up the field goal or the touchdown then when they shouldn't have at the end. Like they weren't that shutdown elite ones that you remember the Steelers in the glory days where you got a lead, you were like, it's over.
Right.
You know, I always remember like, please offense, just grind out one first down and run out the clock, and it never happened.
It hasn't been that. When you bring up the Green Bay Super Bowl, I mean, it wasn't that way back then. I didn't have confidence against Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers had a fantastic day against them.
I didn't have confidence back then, so it has been, if you're putting it in that context, a long time since the Steelers could take a lead into the fourth quarter and I could put my feet up and say, okay, this one's over. Unfortunately.
Might be an even longer while.
I think so. All right. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. We're talking Heinz Field and Kryder Stadium and all that other stuff.
There we go.
Come up after this on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
Now back to Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7.
We are back. It's Black and Gold Breakdown brought to you by Blaze Alexander Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in State College with this big summer event going on. They have truckloads and truckloads of new cars arriving daily. Take a look at their lot. They're all there. Possible 0% financing, the highest trade values, and a large selection of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram trucks. So don't miss it. Everybody else is low on inventory, but they've got it. They've got more coming, and they'll put your name on it. At Blaze Alexander, they're taking the deals the other guys won't. We're rolling on. We are a little over a week away from the Steelers running into Latrobe for training camp. So we've got to talk about where they're going to be playing. And yes, it's got to be a thrill for you, for them to name the stadium after you, Kryder Stadium.
Yeah, I'm feeling very honored. And the fact that someone else ponied up millions of dollars to put my name on the side of the stadium, I told them, don't put my face on there. I want to keep my anonymity. I can't.
It's very humble.
I can't get badgered. Yeah, so I find it funny, all the people losing their mind over the name of a stadium. I get it. And people were like, oh, maybe they should have named it something like, a Kryder Stadium at Three Rivers or at Rooney Field. Mm-hmm. And then someone brought up the point, and I didn't even know this, that Arrowhead Stadium is also like named, but somebody else pays for that too, but no one refers to it as that.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it would be stupid to pay millions of dollars to throw something in there where people are just going to say Three Rivers or at Rooney Field. So I understand why they don't. But so I thought I would dig into the archives here for Heinz Field, since these records are now set in stone, and find some that would be a little bit interesting to you. So besides the Steelers, who had the most wins and losses at Heinz Field? So these might be a little bit obvious. I'll let you take the first one. Who do you think had the most wins at Heinz Field beside the Steelers?
Oh, boy, I'd have to say Baltimore.
That's correct. The Ravens had 9. Jay-Z, who had the most losses at Heinz Field?
Browns.
Want to give a guess how many?
Oh. Because Ben just dominated that stretch. So, and since 2001, I'm going to go with 21. 25. Okay. Good guess. Ooh. So, largest point differentials in wins and losses. What do you think the biggest point differential was in a Steelers win at Heinz Field?
42 points.
Close. 38 points. They beat the Chiefs in 2006, 45-7. Jay-Z, what do you think's the worst beatdown the Steelers took at Heinz Field?
Gosh, it feels like that playoff loss was that bad.
No, they got some scrubs at the end, some scrub points.
That's right, it was. They did bridge the gap a little bit. Gosh, I can't think of, and that was the height of the I'm just gonna go with 20, we'll say 24.
24 on the button. Are you cheating over there? Are you looking up stats?
Look at you.
31-7, they lost to the Ravens in 2006.
Pound the keyboard real quick.
All right, here we go.
Nice.
We know Ben has obviously thrown the most touchdowns in Heinz Field history. Mr. Brown, who has the second most TD passes in Heinz Field history?
In Heinz Field history, the second most, it's got to be Flacco.
I was going to say Joe Flacco, actually.
No, Tommy Maddox, 28 TDs. We forgot about Tommy Gunn.
Oh, I thought you were talking about opposition. Okay, all right.
No, just the second most.
Yeah, nope. Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, gosh, how many? Charlie Batch came to mind, and then I said, no, it's got to be something like Joe Flacco.
Most field goals made in Heinz Field, Mr. Brown?
I would think it would be Boswell.
Mr. Seiko?
There's Sweezum, there's Jeff Reed.
Jeff Reed was my second choice.
I'll go with Jeff Reed then.
Jeff Reed, 112. Boz, 104.
Damn, well, Boz is getting him this year.
All right. Who has the most tackles in Heinz Field history? By almost 100 over the next.
That's an easy one. Then I think I know this.
Oh, linebacker.
Help him out, Jay-Z.
James Ferrier.
Yes, absolutely. 651. Who's ringing up a close second with about 90-some difference?
Ooh.
That would be.
That's where it gets tough. I think I have a name in mind.
Go ahead.
Lawrence Timmons.
Look at you, man. He's smoking your butt, old man.
Lawrence Timmons.
Yeah, he had 563.
Seriously,
he was
Mr.
Eddie.
Tackle Machine. He was a magnet. Even if they were getting 10 yards after they touched the football, he was still getting them.
All right, last one. This should be pretty easy. Who has the most sacks in Heinz Field history?
TJ.
Oh. Is it James Harrison?
Yes, it is. 56-50. Man, you got smoked.
I'm close on all of them, though.
Yeah, but you're close, but you're wrong.
I was close. Why do you think I don't bet?
Yeah. So that's good fun. I mean, it's a shame that some of those records, well, I don't know how they'll, it was just fun with the name change. But here's one that I was looking at. Do you think the Steelers will have a kickoff return for a touchdown this year?
No.
2017 was the last time. 2019, Deontay Johnson did have a punt return.
I mean, the NFL has made it so it's almost impossible to return kickoffs. Punts, yeah. But I don't think the Steelers have any.
You have no faith in Gunnar Olszewski, then?
I think old Gunnar might return a punt, but I doubt it.
What about, will the Steelers get back to the top 10 in takeaways this season? They slipped all the way down to 14th last year with a meager 22.
Zach, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to say yes. I think this defense will be really good, but that's the only saving grace. It's going to be just that weird dynamic of, I think it'll remind me a lot of the season where Ben went down, and then they cycled back and forth between Mason Rudolph. Go figure, when he got hit over the head with the helmet, and Duck Hodges. Miss him.
I know we won Cano, we pushed him over.
There you go. I would like to see some interceptions where they're not off of deflections and other things, like actually stepping in front of a pass and picking it off once. That'd be great.
That'd be nice. All right, we got to do Captain with Kryder.
We do.
And it's all brought to you by Line Country Kia. Don't buy any pre-owned vehicle. You deserve a Kia certified pre-owned vehicle from Line Country Kia. Check them out today at 1334 Drabble Street behind Sam's Club in State College.
Don't I get to recap this one since I made the picks last week?
Recap.
Because I was
I didn't even talk about that. So I'm only going from tonight forward. So I'll let you jump on board in the show.
I was 2 for 2. I took a money line underdog in the Pirates. They were plus 125. They won outright, and I said the score was going to be 5-2. It was in fact 5-3 against the Marlins. So it was under as well. I said take the under and take the Buccos.
I was just sad that I wasn't here to talk about that. My Orioles had a 10-game winning streak. They were playing some really competitive baseball. So speaking of baseball, and tonight is the Midsummer Night's Classic, the All-Star Game. I say put your money on the American League plus the 1.5 runs. I think the American League usually has the upper hand. I think they're going to cut that, especially with a 1.5 run cushion in your pocket. And I also think the long shot would be, I think there's going to be more than the 7.5 runs that they say are going to be scored. I think there's some reliever, some 100-mile-an-hour flamethrower is going to get lit up for a 2 or 3 run homer.
You know who it's going to be? David Bednar from the Pirates.
Yeah, in the second they put him in, he's been ice cold.
How much of the game will you guys watch tonight, with intent or?
With intent, none.
If it goes to extras, because they're going to do the home run derby.
Yeah.
If it does. And even still, it's if I get around to it. I don't even know because I don't have cable, so I got to find out if I can stream it.
Oh, who's carrying the game?
I think it should be Fox.
Oh, okay.
Fox normally
If I get tired
that.
of watching Peaky Blinders, I'll probably...
Watching who?
You've never seen Peaky Blinders on Netflix?
Peaky Blinders?
Man, you got to watch Peaky Blinders. Woo!
I never even heard of that.
Show.
It is in fact on Fox.
On Fox.
All right, so there you go. Now, we've got to move along to the Scouting Report.
Yeah.
And it's all brought to you by Sergeant Bob. If you need a great singer and songwriter with acoustical music for your wedding or special event, check out Sergeant Bob Timney at sergeantbob.rocks. Check out his site for veteran awareness info as well, testimonials, you can hear music, upcoming dates, and more.
So for the Scouting Report, I saw that Bleacher Reports had their 5 experts weigh in on their prediction to win the AFC North. The Steelers got none of those 5 votes. Surprise, surprise, the Bengals got 3 picks and the Steelers got 2, although they did predict that the Steelers would indeed go over the 7.5 win total. So what are your thoughts on no one having faith for the Steelers winning the North?
Doesn't surprise me at all. Nobody has since the final gun last season, and why should they? On paper, things don't look good with changing quarterbacks and all that.
Right, but but a different quarterback who's mobile doesn't mean it'll be better, in my opinion, because again, you're going to have less than Ben Roethlisberger experienced quarterbacks who couldn't command games at the end. He threw on that Superman cape, so to speak, and willed some of those 7 comebacks just on his guile and guts and being able to do that and improvise. I don't think we'll get that from these 2 quarterbacks, so I just don't think mobile is necessarily going to translate to more wins.
You're right, but 3 votes for the Bengals, 2 for the Ravens. Makes sense to me. The only thing is I'm surprised somebody didn't vote for the Browns because arguably they've got the best roster.
Well, I think Deshaun Watson has everybody skittish to make any kind of prediction.
They're not going to go over for whatever Deshaun Watson's out. Jacoby Brissett is capable.
Jay-Z, do you play Madden?
I used to.
Everybody's all kerfluffled because
TJ
Watt got a rating of 96 and Myles Garrett got a 99. So I don't play that. I just find it weird that grown men get so slighted by this or whatever. I get it's like street cred or status, but in fairness, I find it ridiculous that they would give the ultimate rating to someone who I feel like, even though he had a great year last year, his year paled in comparison to T.J. Watt.
It was the lowest rating for a previous Defensive Player of the Year in Madden history. Everybody else has either been a 98, a 99. I think the lowest was 97. Now it's T.J. Watt at 96. The way they do it, so they rate everybody on all these skills from speed all the way down to football intelligence and everything you can think of in between. And then all of those ratings together combine into the overall rating, if that makes sense. So there must be something that T.J. Watt is really deficient in, and something that, like Myles Garrett's very strong. They're probably going to give him a 90 strength rating, and that'll push the overall rating through the roof. So something that T.J. Watt might... they might give him a low rating on agility or something, or in whatever have you. Whereas
durability.
That might just be exactly it, and it won't count as much, but it'll count towards it. So that's what it's going off of. They don't just look at him and slap a 96 on it. That's it. No debate. There's about 100 categories that they look at and they scale, and then that.
Well, if that's the case, why didn't we see our Chase Claypool with a 99, all those tangibles? He ranked himself in the top 3 receivers of the NFL.
Football intelligence is very important in these ratings. It's called awareness, and he probably has a very low awareness rating.
And I knew somehow you were going to work into the show that T.J. Watt takes too many breaks.
Rubber band man.
I knew it. We're going to take another break. This is Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
Now, back to Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7.
We are back. It's Black and Gold Breakdown, and of course, it's brought to you, as it always is, by the Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. The factory told Blaze Alexander Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram that it's making this summer event, and they went for it. And at Blaze Alexander Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram truck, they are doing it on everything. Truckloads and truckloads of new cars arriving daily. So reserve yours today for possible 0% financing, the highest trade values, and a large selection of the new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram trucks. Guys at Blaze Alexander, they're taking the deals the other guys won't.
So since they're back at Latrobe, and remember when Antonio Brown was there, it was like, what kind of vehicle, or what is somebody going to come in on a camel, going to get dropped by a helicopter or a parachute? Do you think there'll be any grand entrances? My favorite one was when Vince came in as Stone Cold Steve Austin. He had the black leather vest on, no shirt underneath, and a mock WWE Championship belt over his shoulder. Do you think there'll be any shenanigans with the Deontay Johnsons or Claypools of the world, with coming in $1 million golf cart? Or
well, on one side I say not many people have been to Latrobe and done all that, so they don't really realize the traditions. But on the other side, you got some veterans there who are probably going to say, let's bring this baby in style. So I think somebody's going to do something wild. It'd be fun.
It'll either be Devin Bush or Chase Claypool. I mean, that's really it.
Could be.
True.
We shall see.
Cam Hayward's not going to do that.
I would like a more serious tone for my training camp after the beatdown they took in the playoffs. So I would like my team leaders to start it that way and say,
back to back now. Both those playoff losses are bad.
Yeah.
They were nasty. Do you think they really think about that anymore? I mean, you used to read stories about the old-time players, and that would stick in their craw all summer, and they come back.
If it didn't, that'd be the first video I'd show them when they all got out there next Tuesday, was that fourth quarter or whatever. That first quarter.
Yeah, you guys got just cream. Anyway, this has been Black Gold Breakdown. We're going to be doing it again next Tuesday here at 5 o'clock, so join us on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
All righty.
We could talk about the Steelers all night on Black and Gold Breakdown, but we've got to cover some other sports as well. Thanks for listening, and remember, you can catch the guys every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. on ESPN Radio 103.